Remember that time when LeBron took his talents to South Beach? It was kind of like that right now with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, definitely. Big shakeup.
Yeah.
But instead of Miami, she's headed for Europe.
The whole basketball world is kind of reeling, and the WNBA, well, they're right in the eye of the storm. You've been following this whole saga, who hasn't, right?
It's been hard to miss.
We're going to do a deep dive, though, go through all these articles, social media posts, really get into why this is such a massive deal. What's it mean for the WNBA? What's Caitlin saying about all this? What's going on?
It's definitely not your average player making a move, that's for sure.
Not at all. Even calling her a rising star feels, I don't know, almost like we're downplaying it. Future of the WNBA, that's what everyone's saying. Redefine the game. And honestly, they're not wrong.
She's incredible to watch, but even as a rookie, she was bringing in a whole new crowd. Networks were like, we need to air these games. Huge crowds, social media blowing up every single game.
Makes you wonder, why leave? This league needs that kind of energy, that firepower.
It's strange, right? And everyone's reactions kind of say it all, you know? Fans were floored. Other players, I think they were just in shock. And the commentators, speechless. Which for commentators, that's really saying something.
One even said, and I'm paraphrasing here, how crazy is it that someone who lights up the court like Caitlin, who's got networks changing their schedules, is getting paid like, well, just another Reckle?
And that's the thing. It always comes back to money. That ESPN report we've got here, the one about the WNBA's finances, yeah, it doesn't beat around the bush. The league's in a tough spot financially. That's a factor here, no doubt.
76 grand, that was her rookie salary. $76,535 to be exact.
Think about that for a second. Even with a multi-million-dollar deal from Nike, it's nothing compared to what the guys in the NBA are making, right? Millions, fresh out of the gate.
Brianna Stewart, and she knows a thing or two about being a WNBA star, she was floored. Basically said it's nuts that someone bringing in millions for the league is barely scraping by.
And a lot of people agree with her. That kind of difference in pay, it's hard to ignore.
It is. But there's another layer to this. We got to talk about what Caitlin's actually saying about all of this, right? Her words at that press conference, they were really something. This is about more than basketball, she said. It's about pushing myself, finding new challenges, and growing as a player. She said, Europe offers that in a way that I need right now.
And that's what makes this so interesting. The money, yeah, it's huge, but it's not the whole picture for Caitlin. She wants more than just a bigger paycheck, you know. She's looking for something more.
Which, let's be real, that's not unheard of for athletes at her level. They're competitive. They want to be challenged, to keep getting better, always reaching for that next level.
Absolutely. So then the question becomes, what are those challenges, especially over in Europe? What's she hoping to gain by playing overseas? Well, one thing is the style of play. European leagues, they're known for something completely different.
Yeah, we hear it all the time. More physical, more tactical. But what does that actually mean? You know, what's it look like on the court? Paint us a picture.
Okay, so picture this. European teams, they're all about these intricate offenses, tons of passing, off-ball movement. It's a whole different world from the WNBA, which is all about that fast pace, isolation plays, just raw athleticism, you know?
And Caitlin, she's all about that fast-paced game. So this is
a chance to adapt. She's got to play more strategically, think differently. Makes you think maybe that's part of what she means by growth, right? Next level basketball IQ stuff.
Makes sense.
And don't forget, she's going to be going up against the best of the best players who've been in the WNBA who know what it takes.
A whole other level of competition.
Exactly. This isn't just about a bigger paycheck. It's about testing herself.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole cultural experience, right? Being in Europe, immersing herself in something totally new.
That's going to be appealing, especially at her age, being at the top of her game, broadening her horizons professionally, personally, the whole package.
And that's kind of where this whole thing with Caitlin, it starts to feel like a turning point.
Right.
We've seen WNBA stars head overseas before, Briner, Plum, but this feels different. It's like
she was supposed to be the one to stay, the future.
Right. And now other players are frustrated, and rightfully so. Nafisa Collier, she said it best, basically, that this feels like the WNBA just, I don't know, didn't do enough to keep her.
Yeah, and Angel Reese in that TalkSport interview, she was pretty vocal about it too, saying players are giving it their all, just like the guys, bringing in these huge crowds, but the league's losing its stars.
And that's the dilemma, isn't it? How do you balance the finances with keeping these amazing players, especially when they can make serious bank somewhere else?
It's a ton of pressure, no doubt. So what's the answer? What can the WNBA do to stop this from happening again and again?
Well, a lot of people are talking about changing how the league makes money. better broadcasting deals, bringing in more revenue, which could mean bigger salaries, hopefully.
Makes sense. Gotta stay competitive. But is that even possible, realistically?
$1 million question right there. The WNBA has to play this just right. Attract the best players, but also, stay afloat. It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But what about Caitlin, though? Is Europe a done deal, or is there a chance we see her back in the WNBA?
That's the big question, right? It's hard to say for sure. I mean, we have seen players come back after some time overseas.
Right, like Taurasi, Breonna Stewart, they both played in Europe and then came back to the WNBA.
Exactly. And their game really benefited from the experience.
Yeah.
But with Caitlin, I think right now she's just laser focused on getting better, exploring all the options.
Yeah, and who can blame her? It's not like she's saying never to the WNBA. That market interview, she basically said, look, I'm not leaving because I'm unhappy. I just want to grow as a player.
Which is a really mature way to look at it. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about her taking control, owning her journey.
Absolutely. But even if it's not intentional, her leaving, it makes you think. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with her and with the WNBA in the next few years.
It's a big moment for both of them, that's for sure. And the TNT Sports CEO, he was pretty blunt about it. He said, the Caitlin Clarks of the world, they don't come around very often. The WNBA needs to adapt, or they're going to keep losing these amazing players. Kind of a wake-up call,
It really is. I mean, think about it. If someone like Caitlin Clark, who was on track to be the face of the league, if she felt like she had to leave to reach her full potential, what does that say about how we value women in sports? What's it going to take to change that?
Big questions, right? And hopefully this whole thing with Caitlin, it sparks some real change. That conversation needs to happen, and it needs to happen now.
It's about more than just basketball at this point. It's about recognizing how talented these women are, how dedicated they are, and making sure they're valued, that they're compensated fairly. It's something we all need to think about, especially as this story unfolds.